Well, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the wonderful Marriage Matters, all about matters of the marriage that matter because they matter in marriage because marriage matters.
I'm Joe.
I'm Andy. It's getting slicker, that. That's quite worrying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, tripping off the tongue. So if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, you can like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. How many times have I said this? You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can sign up to Berry Bites.
Yay.
And what's Berry Bites? Well, it is our regular newsletter, so you will never miss out on anything that we do.
Yeah, and you won't miss out on what's happening with Marriage Matters. And this week...
And it's Berry Bites with a Y, because why not?
Yeah, check it out. So this week...
I don't do all the slogans.
No, you don't.
Can you tell?
No. As you know, Marriage Matters is all about things to do with marriage, and we share something of our own experience. And this week we're looking at a balancing act. And what we mean by that is that, we need to be honest in relationships, honest with our spouse. We're friends at the end of the day, aren't we? Friends tell each other the truth. But there's a way of saying the truth, isn't there? And I think when we were sort of thinking about this, at one minute you can be a real advocate, you can really be on the side of your spouse, and the next minute you're like the enemy. And it happens, doesn't it? Arguments we talked about in the last episode. But also you can be someone who's really complimentary, someone who's very supportive of your other half, and then be someone who's really critical. But at the same time, it's a balancing act, and that's the point, because you do need to be honest. You do need to say, hey, that you don't look great in that top or whatever, or that
does my bum look big in this? Actually, yes, it does.
The food didn't taste very nice, or actually you are overworking, or you were a bit harsh when you spoke to that person. That's what friends are for, isn't it? And we've got some scriptures to help us out with that.
You want them now?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Hey, well, there you go. Honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
But how you convey the honesty kind of matters.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, you got a big butt isn't really loving and kind. Perhaps we could be honest and say, I'm not sure that really works on you.
Although in saying that, I know that from different cultures and different sort of relationships, we might have a way of talking to each other that we after a number of years, we can talk like that. But it's about making sure that that's the way the other person
within the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I like people being blunt, being honest, being forthright, being just straight to the point. But some other people like it to be bent a bit, don't they?
Bend a little bit.
Yeah.
Shall I start in Proverbs, the early one, 5:4?
Yeah, go for it.
Proverbs 5, verse 3. For the lips of an adulteress drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Sword, it gets worse. Her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths are crooked, but she knows it not.
Wow. What's that about?
Well, it's about an adulteress, so it's somebody who's having an affair. But the thing is, affairs don't just happen, not ever. Unless you are completely drunk, in which case you're probably not in control of yourself. But then why were you getting drunk and putting yourself in a dangerous place? You need to think first. But affairs don't just happen. And this particular bit of Proverbs is about an adulterous woman. And I think we need to be aware that you don't just fall into an affair. It's something that you probably planned, or if not planned, perhaps planned to allow for the possibility of. But how do we do anything we don't want to do? Well, always flattery. Flattery works. And I think flattery, it works different for men and women. I think women can flatter women can flatter a man in a way a man can't flatter a woman. There are different ways for men to do the same thing. But flattery, I think, is something that is quite effective at getting what you want. So I think it's being very careful. And if the tongue is dripping with honey, then the whole point is it's smooth and it's pleasant and it's enjoyable. It's something that goes down very easily and it doesn't jar with us. If somebody says, oh yeah, let's go and have sex, let's have an affair, that might jolt you out of doing it. But actually, if what we're saying here is affairs happen because there tend to be a lot of little steps, and actually that bit of flattery might be just enough to push you over the edge. That's
you've
what I
got-
think. What do you think it's about, dear?
Well, no, I mean, it ties in with what we're talking about in the sense that it's a balancing act between how we approach things, but we need also to be warned that even if someone's dripping with honey, if someone's really got they're a charmer, then there might be some problems there as well. So it's not as easy as that.
No.
And sometimes we in our relationships kind of put on that kind of attitude, whether you're male or female, to get what you want, don't you? You know.
Yes, you did. Playing Monopoly many years ago, and Joe used all her feminine tools.
Wiles.
Is that the right word? That sounds really
Sounds
dodgy,
old.
doesn't it? We weren't married at the time. It's okay. It's above board. It's PG rated. Yeah, she used her femininity to get me to sell something that she wanted on the board for Monopoly to win the game. It did not go down well with the other people on the game who couldn't use what
No.
she used, which was to
Yeah.
look at me lovingly.
We can laugh.
I
at
am
that.
going to be your wife. What do you do, bloke? Seriously. No, you're not having it. Sod off. It's not going to happen, is it? We're going to be a bit
No.
more polite. Right, let's move on to Proverbs.
27:17. Do you want to do next? Yeah. And this one is about friendship, and which I think.
Oh, sorry. Iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron.
Yeah.
I'm not that surprised. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another.
Yeah, I mean, I think in another translation it uses the word friend, but that again is about,
Can I read the next bit?
Oh,
of
sorry,
it?
the next bit, yeah.
Well, no, it's not, but it isn't, but it is. He who tends a fig tree will eat its fruit,
Oh, okay.
which is quite good. So we tend. Thing is, we've said before in the scriptures that the Bible's clear that Joe's body isn't hers, mine isn't mine. Mine belongs to Joe, Joe's belongs to me. But we look after that which matters most. So we'd like to think we're tending each other's fruit, looking after each other, which is always good.
And then the other one is, still in Proverbs 27, but 5-6.
Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses.
Yeah, again. Yeah.
That's a fun one. We might skip that one for now. But open rebuke is better than hidden love. We've got a friend, Johnny, and he's got a real thing about shine a light on the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very easy to try and cover up what we've done. The classic one is not to deny something, but to steer it to something that we're willing to own up about. But Johnny's always really clear about the great vicar. He talks about how we need to shine a light on the truth. Whatever the situation is, shine a light on it, because the truth will set you free. And actually, if we're honest with people in loving and wise ways and appropriate ways and righteous ways that are biblical and God-honouring, then actually that's the best thing to do. That's the wise and the right thing to do, is literally to shine a light on the truth.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about that last Proverbs there, in my translation it was talking about friend, it's better than kisses from the enemy. The words from a friend is better than the kisses from the enemy. And it reminds me of when Jesus was betrayed by Judas Iscariot, that he actually came and kissed him on the cheek, and that was a real sign there of an enemy. So it's really interesting, yeah. So we'll
unpack
have
that.
a break and unpack this.
So let's pray. Andy's going to come on and show us how to pray. Excellent. What have you got there?
It's my world's atlas,
Okay.
so I can pray for the world.
Okay.
You see, pray's good.
Right. Okay. You're going to show us how to do that then?
Yeah. So I've got my atlas, and if you go to the letter A, I'm going to start here. So
Yeah.
please God, please bless our Ben Ra and our Chun and our Borg.
What did you like about the story?
Bob
You like Bob?
and the stick. We like sticks.
You like the stick?
We like sticks a
Well-
lot. I do.
Okay, well, we'll try and make sure there's some more stories with sticks in,
Thank
Dave,
you.
especially for you.
So as usual, we try and get the Bible involved in our discussions around these different issues, and we're looking at the balance act between, being honest but not kind of upsetting the other person. We did quarrels and arguments last time, so it kind of touches on that a little bit, but it's that balancing act of being honest and being able to help what is your spouse, is your friend. And that's what we're looking at. And we've got some scriptures there around iron sharpens iron, and, the kisses of an enemy are much worse than having a sort of rebuke from a friend. So it's sort of these proverbs are helping us to hook into something to keep us on the right track. Don't you think?
I was just smiling because iron sharpening iron isn't necessarily the gentlest of
No, it's
of
not.
processes.
No, it's not, is it?
It's not kind of lovey-dovey.
No, I mean, we do, what is it, tough love, isn't it? The song's about that.
Yeah, you're good at that. Usually when I've done something stupid.
Well, no, there is times to be, I mean, I think sometimes it's not love if you don't tell someone off, like your children, if we don't put them out of harm's way, and if we don't warn people about the things that are happening to them, then that isn't love, is it? I mean, that's what God does in the Bible through Proverbs. He's warning us, isn't he? And that's real love.
There's consequences for our actions.
Yeah.
And it's important that we're actually honest about that.
Absolutely. And I was thinking about what you were saying in the scripture about the woman dripping with honey and oil. You know, and you said it could be easy to go into perhaps slipping into adultery if we're not careful. It doesn't happen overnight. It's something, and you can quite innocently get involved in a friendship at work or whatever, and then, you know, find yourself...
Here's an honesty moment for you.
Yeah.
So I used to work for a car auction, and I've never cheated on Joe, never had any need or interest to.
Yeah.
And I've never gone out of my way to flirt with somebody, but I was having a chat with somebody on a phone, and all the office was staring at me. When I got off the phone, they says, "Oh, gosh, you must be we've never seen such professional flirting, you know. You must really want to get into bed with her." And I remember thinking, no. I was having a friendly chat with somebody. We got on really well. We were having a laugh and a joke about something. I'd never met this woman, but we had we spoke a lot on the phone because of the business that I was doing, and she was a contact point. And I don't think I even mentioned it to you because I thought the people in the office were so stupid. Like, if you can't have a fun chat with somebody, there's something seriously wrong. And I think it said a lot about their own distrust issues, because in my mind was absolutely nothing to do with what their head was pulling them, and they just assumed I was flirting. And no, we were just having a good laugh, and we were just we got on about something, and it's good to get on with other people. I don't think that phone call can't lead to having a mental affair, but I never thought anything. I was just having a laugh. It was fun. We got on like house on fire, and we were doing business, and we had a lot of chats, so, you know, we got on well.
I think some of the honesty things that we've had is around work, isn't it, and stress more recently for me. So you would be and for yourself, we point out to one another when we are getting stressed and when we need a rest and things like that. And so that, I think that's been really helpful in our marriage, hasn't it?
Yes. No, it has. It's important to be honest. I've called you on some stuff. You've called me on lots of stuff. But that's part of what marriage is. I saw First Marriage as a blog that I mentioned quite a lot. They had a really good post, and I'm going to really, really murder what they wonderfully wrote on their blog. But it was basically, the sooner we stop thinking that marriage is about our needs and it's about glorifying God, the better. And I think that sums up quite well what we're talking about, because ultimately the marriage isn't about my happiness and Joe's happiness. People go into marriage because it's what I want and it's for me and it makes me happy, and there's nothing wrong with being happy, but happy is overrated. Joy is much better, and joy comes from a deeper thing, God. So I think we need to remember what marriage is about, and it isn't about our glorification. It's not about us. I do get quite upset when marriages are all centered around the bride, because the bride wouldn't be there without the bridegroom. And it concerns me when I see that kind of thing, because it doesn't bode well for the marriage when every kind of effort is put on one person, because that relationship is not going to revolve around one person. And equally, the two people need to be committing into that relationship and being honest.
Honesty is important, isn't it? But how we do that, how we go about it, so that we don't end up being cruel, I suppose, it is the key, isn't it? It's like you said earlier, how do we tell someone in our relationship that they're not getting something right and everything like
I have a conundrum, which is an interesting one. I cannot tell Joe everything. It's physically impossible. It's an obvious logical point. I can't say everything to Joe. If I can't say everything and I can only say some things, then already what can I hide from Joe? What can I say? And it's easy to go down that road. We're really big on honesty and openness in this house. Joe and I have shared a mobile phone as long as I can remember. We have two phones, but at various times we just grab a phone and go out. We share social media accounts, we share email addresses. We both have a mobile phone, and it's not about keeping tabs on each other, because if you're in that place, you've got other issues which need to be resolved. It's about the fact that there is nothing to hide. It makes it fun when you try and do something as a surprise. I'll be honest, when we're trying to buy something or surprise each other, it's quite hard, although we tend to go out buying things with each other. But we're really big on honesty, and we're really big on openness, because if you're hiding things, It's an issue. Again, Fierce Marriage have a challenge that they regularly talk about, which is brilliant. I think it's called the drop challenge. If you dropped your phone down in front of your other half, would you be okay with what they saw?
Yeah.
And, well, we share phones quite a lot, so, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not a particular issue, but don't then get cocky about it.
Yeah, I mean, that is very helpful. I was just thinking about sometimes we kind of just agree with our other half just for a quieter life, that maybe we've got ourselves into habits of maybe if we go down that road, we know there's going to be an argument or whatever, and sometimes we just agree and go yeah whatever, and I think that's really sad when you get to that place, isn't it? Because then
there can be some wisdom.
You can, if it becomes a habit and you are saying those things, that could be sort of a warning, isn't it? A problem there if you're just sort of sitting back. But the other time, if you're always having a go and nipping and saying you've done this wrong or that, or always criticising, then that's also, you need a balance. Again, it's that balancing, isn't it?
Balancing act, a bit like the title of this episode. So I remember I was November 21 was a rocky month. It was a rough month for us as a family. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be our 25th anniversary. It was going to be wonderful, but we went down with COVID as a family.
Yeah.
We had a death of an estranged relative, my dad, and I ended up in hospital twice. Once in A&E because I had an issue and it turned out to be a lung infection after COVID, and then the second issue I was in hospital. It took me 11 hours to get my heart to slow down so it didn't go really badly wrong. And it was a really, really rough month because it was about 2 months in the end of us hardly seeing or touching each other in any kind of context because we were exhausted and we were ill, and I was in hospital and I was admitted for a while, and it was really hard and rough time. Jo is the loveliest person I've ever known and met. I don't say that for any other reason. It's true. She's really sweet and gentle and soft, and I love you as a friend and my wife. But while she's fairly sympathetic if I'm not very well, I don't do illness very well. It does tend to... It's not that I'm weak with it. It's just I tend to get worse than most people, it seems. Something that's simple actually knocks me out rather than makes me a bit poorly. So when I was ill and I'd had heart issues and I came back and I was on 3 medications and blood thinners, which are terrifying at the time. Got used to it now, but you were so much gentler and you wouldn't let me do anything, and you were so much softer. What I discovered was, although you've always been really soft, there's this extra level that I'd never really had to see of greater care and greater compassion and greater softness towards me. And some days I obviously was looking a bit peaky or not very well because I'd overdone it, or the meds were really kicking in, and it took me 6 weeks to adjust to the medication and not sleep every day for 10 hours a day. And you were so soft and gentle, and actually that freaked me out because it's almost as though you're being dishonest, but you were actually just being even more gentle and more loving and more kind. But actually that freaked me out because it wasn't a part of you that I was used to seeing. And that's what I love about marriage. There's always new levels of who you are that I love exploring and finding more parts of who you are. It's amazing. So it's important that we keep on trying to discover each other. But that freaked me out a bit because I wasn't quite used to that level of compassion. And you were there if I needed to drink, and
there is a time to be gentle, but there is a time to
not to be,
or not to, I mean, not harsh maybe, but then saying that sometimes we do need telling off, I suppose, at one level, if we're getting things terribly wrong, or we just need a wake-up call. But
Ecclesiastes, there's a time for everything.
I'm trying to think and rack my brains as to a time that might have been, but I've got a terrible memory for things that go wrong because I just forget them.
It's quite helpful.
It is actually. What's that? Is it? That's love is that never keeps a record of wrongs.
I'm not sure you're not keeping a record of wrongs. You just can't remember them. You never have.
I know.
No, it's interesting. The balancing act of honesty. I mean, the classic, isn't it, there's 2 things that are coming to mind. One is, does my bum look big in this? It's kind of an English thing. But, so the woman goes out. This is a classic stereotypical image of the shops, and she's dragged her husband around. He doesn't want to be there, and he's sitting in a pile with the other blokes. Just want to go home. Can I get the football? Where's the beer? And the wife gang comes out with this new dress. Oh, how does it look? And all the blokes suddenly look. I think it was an advert once. They all look at the bloke. Is he going to be honest? Because they're all thinking she looks really bad. The dishonest husband might say, "Oh yes, you look great." But actually, the honest husband would say, not the best for you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say, yeah, you look ugly, because maybe you've got a kind of comedic relationship where that works. We've met a few couples like that, where it's fine, that's how they are. It's not horrible, it's just their way. But There's honesty. And the second thing is the classic one of husband and wife having sex, and the wife fakes what she's doing because she doesn't want to lie to her husband. And when you get into that kind of level of intimacy and you're lying, you've got some much bigger issues that need to be resolved, because actually in that moment of intimacy, it's not the time for lying. No. It's actually the time when you are most able to be honest. So there's two examples that I thought would come up, very extremes, one silly, one not, but honesty is important. Being honest with one another, especially in physical intimacy, is really important. Otherwise we just end up not being safe. And the one thing that we've always taught our boys is that the house is a safe place. No matter what goes on in the world, the house is the safe place where you can talk about anything, and you can be upset, you can be angry, you can be happy, you can be joyful, and this is a safe space. Even more so in the bedroom. I don't mean sex, I mean the husband and wife relationship, that vulnerability and honesty. I know how to destroy Joe. I know what to say to really hurt and upset you, because as you get more vulnerable, you get to learn each other more. Joe knows how to wind me up and upset me in the same context, how to really knock me out for 6. But the love stops that, because actually that doesn't help. And that's where that love, that honesty, that friendship, that trust all kicks in.
Yeah, brilliant. What are you going to do?
No, I was going back to the proverb, the 27. The other one. Yeah, that one. Over the page. Sorry. Iron sharpens iron, because I was just thinking about how that can be quite harsh as a process. We sharpen knives quite frequently, and it's not this gentle purring caramel-like process of running a knife along a blade. You can hear the thing being ground and stuff. And as Christians, that's part of our walking in marriage. That's the same. Not violence and abuse, that's not okay. But it's not necessarily going to be all skippity-doo and gentle and calm, because actually there's going to be disagreements. And part of any relationship, it's not ignoring those differences. It's about working them through. And as Christians, coming back to that first marriage idea, marriage is not about our happiness, but glorifying God. Because marriage is an example of the church. And if we're not honest in our homes, why would we ever be honest in our church?
No pain, no gain.
Not sure that one fits. Take a break at that point.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's get out of that one. Broken Dreams and Hope is a new book, my first, very, very first book that I've ever written. And it's all based out of the fact that in life, we have hardships and we have difficulties. We have things that will break us physically, emotionally, mentally, financially. There are these things that can come along that can cause us immense hurt and pain. Maybe we've made a mistake, we've done something wrong, we have to face the consequences of that. We get broken. Maybe we've just been caught up in a tragic accident and we've been accidentally involved in something that was nothing to do with us. It breaks us. Broken Dreams and Hope is a book that I've written specifically because I've been through some difficult times. I've been broken. But despite being broken, there was hope, and that hope has a name. Broken Dreams and Hope is all about the fact that no matter how broken we may have been, there is still hope. And that hope has a name, and that name is Jesus Christ.
So this is the resources and tips section, and we had a think about it, and I think we're going to just take you right back again to the War Room. That film is about two warring halves, really. The film starts off very you've got two enemies, really, and they're fighting, and so that obviously links in nicely with our last episode about quarrels, but it's about that balancing act and seeing how the relationship changes through gentleness, and how that gentleness has a huge impact, I think, and how we say things and the way we go about that relationship. Thinking about, as I said earlier, we're going from advocate to adversary, so we're going from being a supportive spouse to an enemy, depending. I mean, we know we've talked about different things coming along, kids and stress and different things, financial issues can cause some problems, and then we can be the best complimenters, you look lovely and all the rest of it, especially when we're courting, and then we can become quite critical. Like Andy was saying earlier, we learn something, we know so much about our other half that we know how to press those buttons and cause the most pain because we know each other, which is wrong, but we can fall into those traps if we're not careful. So go to War Room, the film, and I think that would be very helpful. And Andy, I think you have a book that might be helpful.
Yes, you may have just seen this really handsome bearded bloke talking about it. It is a very, very crowbarred in kind of plug.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just launched my first book, published my first book called Broken Dreams and Hope. And if you are struggling with hopelessness, then this book is for you. It's for anybody that wants to know what it is to have hard times. Why is that going off? My watch is making noises. Weird. But it's also ensuring that, there's hope.
Yeah.
And if you're in your marriage and you're feeling hopeless because you're thinking, I can't be honest with my other half, with my spouse, I'm not able to be myself, I'm feeling like I'm being treated quite cruelly, then, your dreams have been broken. And that's what this book is written for. It's written for all sorts of people, actually. But it's about the fact that whatever's broken you, there's still hope.
Yeah.
So that's my plug for my own book,
That's brilliant.
which is actually very good.
Yeah. That
And people
sounds
like
very
it
good.
already, which is very exciting.
Brilliant. And I think that's really it for our resources and tips, because
What else do you need except for buying my book?
but I mean, always back into the Bible, looking at those scriptures that we've talked about.
Song of
Songs. Can't go wrong with Song of Songs. Great marriage guidance in that.
How does the husband and wife to be look at each other before marriage and then in marriage?
Yeah.
They love each other. They care for one another. They're honest about things, and it's great.
And I think what you said earlier, Andy, was about love being the thing that holds us together. So you've got 1 Corinthians 13 and lots of things about love.
Can you trot out the verse like Nathan does?
Oh, no. But I know love is kind and love is patient and love keeps no
quickly
record of
find it?
wrongs.
Shall I quickly find 1 Corinthians
And
13?
something about a clanging gong if you haven't got love.
A plumber's bag of tools. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It is not rude, it is not self-seeking. Well, a good one for marriage, isn't it? It is not easily angered. This is...
It's good stuff.
Yeah. It keeps no record of wrongs.
I know. I remember that one.
Yeah. You see, keeping no record of wrongs. That time 17 years ago, we were walking through the doors and you did this. What? Keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres.
Yeah.
So if you're finding some difficulties in your marriage, persevere.
Yeah.
Love is the key. Shine a light on the truth and trust in Jesus. And if you're hopeless, there is hope, and it has a name. That hope is Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Amen.
Physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better, promising benefits in this life and in the life to come. The point of this scripture is that while physical training is good, it is beneficial for us. It keeps us fit, keeps us healthy. It's not nearly as beneficial as spiritual training in all that makes up training for godliness, such as reading our Bibles, praying, and going to church. And that is the point of endurance. It is to show how we can maintain self-discipline and how we can endure through our training for godliness. With that in mind, go check it out.
Well, here we are for the takeaway.
Yes.
The takeaway. So yeah, it's the last bit. Segment 4. Section 4.
How are we going to round it up then?
Takeaway. Well, what have we said? We talked about the fact that honesty in a marriage is really important. It is the most physically intimate relationship you will ever have with another human being is a marriage. It goes far beyond just having sex with another human being. Marriage is far deeper than that because you're in a contract of love until death you do part. So it's a really deep relationship, and honesty is really key. Because if you're not honest about the little things, you won't be honest about the big things until you explode. Actually, I was thinking about a video I did quite a long time ago, and it's about coil potential. I was changing a part on my bike, and what I was really struck by is as I squished this derailleur, it's basically a spring that helps you change gears on a bike. You can go and look up that on a search engine. But it's a big spring and it's under pressure. And if you squeeze it, that pressure increases. And eventually it's gonna go. Either you're gonna break the spring, which is possible, it'll snap, or it's gonna explode when you don't want it to. And this one exploded onto my thumbnail, which was quite painful. And I was recounting that because I think it fits with this. If we're not honest with one another, At some point, we will be honest, but we will not be honest in a loving, righteous, God-fearing way. So I'll link to that video. Actually, I think it's quite relevant.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Coiled potential can hurt. It hurt me a lot, but we need to be honest. And if we're not honest about the little things, then the big things get bigger and bigger, and we start to have some really serious rifts and holes and problems.
Yeah.
So,
what are you going to take away, Andy? Get in there quick.
So. I was trying so hard. So what am I going to take away? I'm going to take away the fact that it's important that we keep on that honesty. And actually, one of the things that's striking me, not because I do this or you do this, but what's standing out to me is not keeping a record of wrongs. Not because, like I say, I don't do that, and you don't tend to say, oh, you did this 10 years ago. We're not really like that. But I think it's striking me because sometimes I don't remember the good that you do. I don't choose to forget it either. I just don't remember and recall it. And actually, when life gets a little bit more difficult, and it does all the time, there's ups and downs, actually remembering how much you love me means that I don't think that you're against me just because you've said something that my own insecurities is then interpreted into doesn't love me anymore, and she means this really. And we've got to take each other at face value. Ultimately, apply wisdom and righteous counsel and all the rest of it, but actually we do need to take people at face value. And if someone says, I didn't mean to do that, well, I think this, but you did that, and then actually we need to take people at face value, especially your spouse. Yeah,
trust comes to mind, but it sounds like the antidote, doesn't it? Instead of keeping records of wrongs, remember the good stuff.
It should have been tips and resources.
Yeah, it should have been. When the rough times come, it's like, but remember how she did this or he did that, and that keeps you. It's a bit like when you're going through any tough time, you hang on to something positive from God. God is good. God loves me, and all the good stuff. While you hang on to that while you go through some difficult trials, and in the same, if you're going through some trials in marriage, you hang on to the good stuff. But obviously, hanging on to God is good as well. For dear life.
If you're looking to your spouse to complete you or make you happy, you are going to be very, very severely disappointed because your spouse will fail you and let you down because they're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. I clearly never do that, but most spouses do. So I'm told.
Yeah.
So I've heard. So what am I taking away? I think it's just that, remembering the good.
Yeah.
Don't not remember the bad. Remember the good. A double negative is hard work.
Yeah.
A single non-double negative is easy. I think I need a cup of tea.
Remember the good stuff, yeah. Remember
can I think?
Oh, what you got?
So when have I been honest with you about something that you really didn't want to hear, but you were really glad I told you you knew I didn't want to say?
Do you know what? I don't know. I honestly don't know. That's something I didn't want you to say, but I did.
You didn't want me to challenge you on something, but I did.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about that because nothing's got. You see, I've got a terrible memory.
No, it's great, isn't it?
I can't think of anything where, you've been honest, and probably because I'm probably squirming and I don't want to remember.
I mean, not like yesterday when you were working too hard and I made you stop. And I made you come out of the study. Anyway. You see, and there's the thing. I think we better stop. It's all good. And thanks for joining us for another Marriage Matters. Go off and buy my book because it's really awesome. He says humbly and without error.
Yes.
And we'll be back next week for more. My name's Andy.
And I'm Jo.
And this was Marriage Matters. Bye for now. There are loads of ways to stay in touch with the Berry Bunch. The best thing you can do is to visit our website, sign up to our newsletter, and you can be sure to always stay up to date with our latest news, videos, posts and updates on our seasonal events.
Like us on Facebook, where we hang out and post extra stuff to encourage and inspire you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and be the first to see our latest brand new videos and resources.
We're on Instagram too, and share extra photos when we're out and about.
If you've seen something you've enjoyed, why not share it with a friend and brighten their day too? And if you want to be part of the Berry Bunch family ministry and help us as we continue to provide free resources for people to stream, share, download and use, you can do so at Patreon by supporting us financially each month.